DonleyAuctions.com.
From the streets of Melrose Park to the trading floor of the Merc, he's fought for every dollar he's ever earned. And now, with personal liberty and our system of capitalism under assault in America, he's here to seize back our rights from the government with a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the other. He's Sean Thompson, and this is the Sean Thompson Show.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag.
What I love about having the opportunity to talk to my friend is not just the fact he's the host on RFD-TV, or that you've seen him on Fox and CNBC and BBC, or that he's even traded and an expert in everything from commodities, equities, cash, and financial products. But I glaze over a lot that he was an adjunct professor of finance at DePaul, and unlike 99 out of 100 so-called professors or adjunct professors, he's a professional who actually worked. That's why I think it's crucially important to understand one guy like this and the influence he can have on kids can change the generation so that they'll only accept truth when it comes to economic realities. He is Scott Shellady, host of The Cow Guy Close. How are you, handsome?
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for that nice introduction.
Well, it's true because, it's unfortunately so many of the kids are being taught to accept servitude and slavery. And they're taught that it's normal for, like right now, a municipal, I was just looking at this. There are 21 million municipal workers, employees. The average salary is $72,115 a year, the average. The average American salary is $14,000 less than that. So when it's better off to work for the government, and that's not including those mystical, magical pensions or the ridiculous health care, you have to get kids that understand that's not how it's supposed to be. That's not what a servant to society is supposed to make in comparison to society. And they have to change their mindset of what it means to be a bureaucrat versus an honest worker, don't they?
100%. And you know what? It was a great time getting in front of those kids. I had 40 kids at DePaul. And all throughout the drop ad session, I didn't lose one. I took them onto the floor of the Chicago Board of Trade to see how people actually, that work for a living, take risk and have to live with their decisions, whether they're good or bad. And then I also showed them what it takes to balance the books of a city like Chicago. Take a look at what these bonds are doing and why are we having to borrow so much money at such high interest rates. And they were absolutely enthralled. And, I also did a little exercise with them about how to buy a house, how to buy a car, how to get those interest rates as low as you can, because that debt service is what ultimately is going to kill you. And they absolutely lapped it up. And I tell you what, it was the best thing professionally I've ever done for my core.
Your soul.
I'll also say this, though. Yeah, my soul. But you know what? I'll tell you what. I was an adjunct professor. The pay was so bad, and I was spending so much time on it. It's just untenable. Right. It was very, very hard. So they had a blast. They loved it. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't lose one kid the entire time. And to make sure I knew that they knew it, they weren't happy about this. And I made a big mistake. My biggest mistake ever was when I gave them their final exam, I made it blue book. I wanted them to write out why they thought this equation worked with that problem, or why we were doing what we were doing at the Board of Trade, or how come the city of Chicago is in such a financial mess. There wasn't going to be A, B, C, or D. Tell me what you think.
Wow.
And you know what? It was really good, but unfortunately I had 40 kids, and it took me about 2 hours to grade each one. So that was 80 hours I didn't think about when I was giving out those blue books. But anyway.
Yeah, but you taught them how you taught them how to reason, how to think. That's what's important. And that is why
for $62,000 a year, I thought they should.
Well, and here's the other thing. That is why the public school system in these ghetto areas can never afford to do what you did. Can't afford it. I don't care what they pay the teachers. Because the reality is once the kids do that and they see the financial malpractice that Democrats and these politicians and their assistants perpetrate on society, they'll never vote Democrat again. That's the real core problem. That on the surface of things, when you look at how easy it is to be in on the scam, you're almost foolish if you're not. You're foolish if you resist it, because we've tolerated this scam so long, it has become far more financially advantageous to be in on the scam than it is finance it, right?
Well, you know what? You and I saw that firsthand because I guarantee you some of the pits you traded in, I can tell you the pits I traded in both Chicago and London, there was that corner of one of those little pits where you knew that there was a lot of dodgy stuff going on over there. And you didn't want to have anything to do with it, but those guys ended up walking away with $50 million each, and I walked away with not even a tenth of that. So, so by playing by the rules, you got nothing. But if you got involved with a scam, you got rewarded handsomely and kept your mouth shut.
So the cost of it destroys the equity and the private money in these areas. And that's really kind of what I wanted to have you on. I know we're going to talk about the markets, but one of the things that I find amazing that's never mentioned is the crisis in commercial real estate in what used to be thriving metropolises. I mean, it's staggering. And as you look at the trajectory of what the play is that it's, in Chicago from 2013 to now, so a little over 10 years, 70% of the businesses that were in business in 2013 are out of business. So when you look at that's a direct destruction of commercial real estate values. And when you look at the chaos now that the governments protect the perpetrators who are doing the ghetto smash through, they don't understand what a sale is. They back a F-150 truck through the window. They think it's a sale. So you've got a lot of moving parts that are going to continue to destroy this in these areas. So the bailouts of these areas are going to be steeper and more expensive, and it's going to be a better scam if you're in on it. How do you talk about the commercial real estate of the decent people?
Well, you just have to, if you got a brain, and everybody does, and you take and you cut out the noise, just know that commercial mortgage-backed security delinquency rate hit 11.7%, which is an all-time record high.
More than 08.
Higher than it was. 08 was 10.7. Today it's 11.7. And that's only getting worse. It's only getting worse. So I'm just telling you, that's the biggest number you need to know right there. Now, everybody touts a better GDP. We have a bifurcated economy so bad. These poor people in commercial real estate are getting absolutely crushed. And we have a real estate problem in this country. Do we have a GDP problem? Well, no, because we've got such a great AI sector. But this commercial, and actually you could throw in residential. Residential is not as bad as commercial. Who knows if it goes that way? But the commercial real estate market it's worse than it was in the great financial crisis of 08, 09.
So it reminds me of the things that need to be in place for the government to seize more and more and more control, right? Because what will happen is now that society has bought the idea that the few can destroy the quality of life for the many. And when you look at in 2008, the delinquency that brought down the entire housing system was 9%. You got commercial real estate at 11%. You've got these big cities that are now so infiltrated and overrun by drug dealers and corruption that their big play is to put low-income housing in what used to be businesses. That seems to me like deed in lieu stuff, where guys don't understand, people don't understand. Commercial banking is different than residential. Residential, you had to go through the process of a short sale, and they could ruin you financially. Commercial banking has a deed in lieu. Here's the keys. Good luck. Take it easy. And they're gone. Why isn't everybody looking at that right now?
I think there's so much on everybody's plate. That's just one thing that they're worried about. I mean, you've got to think that when you really take a step back, look, this is where everything's gotten screwed up, Sean. I talked about it on my show today. They're trying to jam all these great news things down my throat, right? Stocks at 7 days in a row, all-time record highs. We've got an unemployment rate of 4.3%. When you and I went to school, 5% was considered full employment.
Right.
We've got a CPI of 2.9%, so we're underneath 3 when it comes to inflation. We got, like I said, an unemployment rate of 4.3%. All of these things, and corporate earnings are great. All of these things are doing very, very well, yet we're in the middle of a rate cut campaign. Does anybody take a step back to go, what's going on?
It's not possible.
What is going on?
Well, it's an admission of lies. That's how I look at it.
Right.
They have to admit
that's where I was going with that. Exactly right. It starts to unravel when you just play common sense and say, when's the last time we cut interest rates 2, 3, maybe 4 times when stocks were at all-time record highs?
Never.
It just defies logic.
Well, but what it shows you, and this is why people need to talk about this, you're being distracted, right? It's the House's fault. It's the Senate's fault when we talk about the government shutdown. But what the government did, and the most astonishing reality, I say it on the show a lot, one president adds $9 trillion in debt is the admission that the revenue is fake itself. So the revenue is irrelevant. They don't ever have to collect the tax again. And Joe Biden proves it. Because what they understood they needed to cover up, and when I say they, I mean the government and the budget of the government, and the spending of the government, they can never turn direction. They can never change the direction because there is so much debt appearing as revenue because it goes to targeted industries that are government favoritism, where the kickbacks are steep and the product is fake, like the green energy. That the only way they can hide it is by hiring more people that work directly and indirectly for the government. So it's all about to come to an end because Trump just says, shut it down. I don't care if we're shut down for a month, a year, a decade. Shut it down. And that might ironically be the greatest saving grace because you might be able to eliminate that fraud and explain to the people the reason that the debt has increased 90% in 25 years is because politicians frauded your economy. It's not real anymore. And we're going to make it real. We're going to make it private and have that conversation. Do you think he can?
Yeah, I think he can. Well, he's going to try to. I mean, when's the last time? And this is both sides of the aisle too, by the way. We have to stop. We have to stop spending. Look, with the money that we've pumped into the system since with Biden and COVID and that $9 trillion, you just mentioned it. We didn't give ourselves any new stuff to buy. We just put $9 trillion in the market. It had to go somewhere. Stocks, houses, all those things got pumped up in price. And they want to continue with that charade where they really should be trying to trim back. And I'm talking about the money supply. The money supply, by the way, in 2022 we're now higher than it was when we were at 2022 when CPI was 9.1%. So we have more money in the system today than we did 3 years ago when they were really pumping the thing up. So
yeah,
they're continuing the ruse because they can't. It's like they've got all these plates on these sticks and they can't afford to stop them spinning. They got to try to do what they can do because if it does come down, you're going to have to take some serious asset prices lower. Housing, stocks, everything else is going to deflate.
Yes, and the problem is you have debt on those assets. So now if you
100%.
do that, it's like admitting how many naked shorts there are in silver and gold right now, and they're at all-time highs, and nobody's paying attention to it. Think
about it from, say, your wonderful mayor, the mayor of Chicago's point of view, right? That guy understands anything. He's basically in the property market with the city, with his municipality, because that's the last place that they can get money is real estate tax. They can't afford to have the assets go down, or they're going to have to fire all their people. They need to keep the asset prices high so that they keep getting taxes on it. So by backdoor, you've got all these municipalities across the country that need to keep these asset prices high because that's where they're getting. That's the last bastion of money that they haven't been able to really tax.
And the reality is those people already paid crooked alderman-connected law firms to lower their taxes. So they bribe people fair and square. They're going to be a little. I mean, I just hired Madigan 2 years ago to finally, and that's the other side of the coin of the systemic scams that good people thought would never end. And to me, what needs to happen during the shutdown is the exposure that all of the so-called achievements under Joe Biden are just like they were under Lori Lightfoot, Brandon Johnson. I don't care. Go back to Harold Washington or Daley. When you hire government workers and it becomes more advantageous to be a government worker, you've got a frauded economy that has already taken the first step to bankruptcy. And the last time a president had a conversation of honesty was Ronald Reagan the year after, not even, 6 months after he won, when he said, here's what we're going to do. And he had Adolf Volcker, who some people call Paul, but his real name is Adolf. Adolf Volcker, and the rest of it say, okay, you raise the rates, fine, they're there. Now we're going to lower them, and it's going to be honest people only and no more government favoritism. And you eliminate all of these movements that enriched parties. And insurance is the greatest one. Listen to how they phrase it. If we don't have government subsidies, well, then people's premiums will spike up. No, dummy. They spiked up 10 years ago. You just make everybody subsidize everybody. And tell the truth. Right. You have no insurance. Right. Obamacare's a scam. We're ripping it out.
I like that. Adolf Volcker, and I have another one for you. Janet Yeltsin.
Oh, yeah, please. Can you imagine her coming out of the master bath naked saying, it's Saturday? No, thank you. I'd rather see you naked. Go ahead.
But I tell you what, this is another great one. I love this, too. Like, you talked about all the money that they spent, and they did. They poured it into the economy. It had nowhere to go except for asset prices, and they inflated, obviously. But at the same time, we also had that little issue where we had two negative quarters in a row, and they refused to call it a recession. They changed the definition of a recession.
Sure.
And so really what they did was when they did that, Sean, they decided, okay, we can never let this happen again. They pumped more money into the system so that there wouldn't be a recession, because if you got enough money going in there, you can't help yourself but to grow a little bit, right? But the problem is they were so stupid. They took $5 of taxpayers' money to buy $1 worth of growth.
Yeah.
They wasted it. It's unbelievable. So the amount of money that they spent to try to stay out of a recession was 5-1 loser.
So now to get it back, I don't know how you do it. I think you got to cut the loss. How do you get it back?
You can, first of all, stop spending. I mean, that's the problem. We still are spending over $2 trillion more than we bring in every year. Somebody's got to call it like it is. I mean, that's what I love. But I want Trump to say, you know what? This is it's Joni Ernst said that she could see $2 trillion right now that she could cut.
Yeah.
I mean, why don't we just do it?
Well, that's what we're arguing about now. And the problem is the Democrats have the moron mafia. They rally their imbeciles, and they don't want to understand. You're the reason that it's so bad. We have 1.5 parties that are in on this bulldog. And if it's going to end, you got to tell the truth. And nobody's telling the fracking truth. Nobody.
Okay, so
I feel like Liberace's mother. He's got a girlfriend just in Canada.
I just feel like Liberace. But anyway, how about this? In 5 years' time, we're going to be France. They just got rid of their 5th prime minister in 2 years.
Oh, it was my favorite. 14 hours this guy lasted. 14 hours.
It boils down to this. They have no more money. And there are a few politicians trying to cut spending because, well, they don't have a choice. They just don't have the money. But all the people are rioting in the street saying, we want more benefits. Because they got so used to it.
It's
and
like
now they're
Broadview.
in a situation where they have to have austerity measures because there's just no more dough. I mean, they've come to the bottom of the barrel. We're going to be on that. We're going to be on that path. I mean, we're going to be Greece. We're going to be France. We're going to have some austerity measures. And I tell you what, when we decide to do those austerity measures on our own, they don't hurt as bad as when Mr. Market makes you take those austerity measures, because that really leaves a mark.
And what you just explained is why some made-up currency is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Really. You just explained Ethereum, Bitcoin, and all the alternatives to the dollar, because the market and the people in the know realize what's going on. And they're tired of arguing. They're tired of demanding the financial responsibility and financial truth. So they create different ways. And in there is the magic sauce. Because if you're smart enough to recognize what's going on, well, then you bought it. And if you're desperate and dumb, you didn't sell it when it was $22,000 to make a tuition payment like this idiot behind the microphone. However, it's the fact is that there were opportunities and nobody understood them. And the reality that the alternatives and that stock itself is up is because those are actual currencies. You just don't look at it right. Don't you think that's another conversation to have with the DePaul kids?
Absolutely. Absolutely, because those people are all voting with their feet and their own capital about why they think that the U.S. dollar isn't worth anything.
Oh, this is why when I lead up the secession movement and we separate from the mafia confederacy that's ruining the Democrat areas, you are going to be my Adolf Volcker. Got a deal?
Yeah, I'm there with you, brother.
All right, babe. In the meantime, I love you on RFD-TV. 1 to 2, right?
12:30 to 1:30 Central.
Son of a
1:30 to 2:30 Eastern. It's all right. It's a weird time. I get it. But 12:30
Well, I got
to
Dirty
1:30.
Curdy text it to me, so I watch it whenever I want. So thank you very much for making time for me, brother. We'll see you soon. Be back with your calls and comments.
Call Sean now. 312-642-5600.